Let's play a little game, shall we? Place your bets down below on how many Japanese words I'm going to mispronounce in this video. Okay, let's begin. They say that looks aren't everything, but here at TripleJump, we can't say we can relate. For some people, simply knowing that their weapon of choice can slay their enemies without forcing the wielder to break a sweat is more than enough. Us though, we're all about style. Yes, your plain old katana might be able to skewer your enemies like a shish kebab, but if it doesn't look awesome whilst doing it, then what's really the point? For this list then, we're focusing on the sharpest, pointiest weapons of gaming, and ranking those that can cut through a man or woman like room temperature butter. I mean, like the man or woman is room temperature butter, not the sword. We won't pretend to be sword experts. While you were partying, we were not studying the blade, but if it looks like a sword and quacks like a sword, then we're considering it eligible for this list. With that in mind, I'm Peter from TripleJump, and here are the 10 coolest swords in video game history. Number 10. Pyramid Head's Great Knife, Silent Hill 2. You know what we said about looking like a sword and quacking like a sword? Well, we give you Pyramid Head's Great Knife. Yes, technically it's probably just a big knife and not a sword, but you're unlikely to use it for chopping onions, let's face it, so we've made peace with its inclusion here, and we feel like you should too. You certainly don't want to upset the guy holding it. Is Pyramid Head's Great Knife the most intricately decorated blade in this list? No, of course not, otherwise it'd be at number 1. What it is, however, is absolutely awe-inspiring. First appearing in 2001's Silent Hill 2, this terrifying hunk of rusty metal is wielded by a different kind of terrifying hunk. Pyramid Head. I mean, come on, look at those abs. I would. Its sheer weight alone is enough to fatally wound a man in a single blow, but with the raw power of Pyramid Head behind it, you'll end up with more bifurcated bodies than you can shake a stick or giant knife at. The Great Knife is by no means an elegant weapon, but there's a certain beauty in its horror, or at least there would be if you could get close enough to take a good look without being cleft in twain. Number 9. GENJIS sword, Overwatch. If you're a man who is more metal than meat, you're probably already pretty badass. But what could push you to peak badassery? Well, a sick samurai sword, of course. Younger brother of bow and arrow wielding Hanzo, Genji is a heavily cybernetically enhanced samurai. Primarily attacking opponents with deadly sharp shuriken, this samurai is quick to unsheath his Odachi to protect himself from incoming attacks. That's definitely one for the tally there, sorry Japan. Not only does the blade feature heavily in the hero's ultimate ability, dealing fatal blows to even the hardiest of enemies, but every few seconds he's able to whip it out to slash through adversaries or deflect attacks back at the perpetrator. Perfectly combining the elements of a traditional samurai sword with a futuristic design befitting its owner, Genji's sword is elegant but practical and deadly. The slightly curved blade is inlaid with a glowing green design, elevating the sword from simple katana to an instantly recognisable signature weapon. Number 8. Fury's Song, Call of Duty Black Ops 3. If you would have asked me if I'd be including any weapon from Call of Duty on a list about cool swords, I'd have laughed in your silly face. But it turns out that every day is a school day here at TripleJump Towers, and the good old interweb was kind enough to remind us of Fury's Song. Featured in 2015's Call of Duty Black Ops 3, the sword can be obtained through supply drops, the game's version of loot boxes, as well as in Zombies mode. The blade's design combines a militarized look with fantasy elements in the handguard reminiscent of weapons featured in titles like World of Warcraft and Diablo. I'm not saying stay tuned for more on those, but stay tuned for more on those. Heavily resembling a traditional Bowie knife, the serrations on the back of the blade imply that Fury's Song may also be handy in a survival situation. So, not only are you getting plenty of stabby fun for your money, but if you find yourself lost in the wilderness, you're also going to be able to build yourself a pretty nifty little shelter. And you look damned cool while you're building it to boot. Very nice. Number 7. Oh, here we go. Excalibur Sunset Overdrive. Sunset Overdrive is severely underrated, at least in our writer's opinion. If you can't tell by my guess in the entry heading, I've not played it, and it seems to have been forgotten by the larger part of the gaming community. The game itself is fun, bright, and colourful, but where it really stands out is its roster of bonkers weapons, with everything from the flaming compensator, a shotgun that strongly resembles a Wilson, to the TN Teddy, a grenade launcher that fires explosive teddy bears. We aren't here to talk about cool guns though, and luckily for us, Sunset Overdrive also features a host of melee weapons to choose from, and none is cooler than Excalibur. The weapon is named in part from Excalibur, the sword that King Arthur yoinked out of a stone that one time, and also from Masamune, a legendary Japanese smith who has been the namesake of weapons in various games including Soul Calibur and Final Fantasy. In Sunset Overdrive, the weapon is forged by the player and imbued with the soul of 99 Physco robots. Oh, and if that weren't awesome enough for you already, the blade glows blue, the hilt is the neck and head of an electric guitar, and it can shoot out fireballs. It might not be as refined as some of the other weapons on this list, but it's undeniably cool as hell. Number 6. Greatsword of Artorias, Dark Souls. We don't get much opportunity to admire the weaponry of the Dark Souls franchise, what with the various big and scary adversaries hell-bent on relieving us of our spleens. But if you do manage to glimpse your character's arsenal as your internal organs splatter the landscape, you're in for a bit of a treat. There were several Soulsborne blades that could have made this list, but the Greatsword of Artorias is our pick. Created by ascending either the broken straight sword or the straight sword hilt with the soul of Sif, the Greatsword of Artorias is an absolutely massive two-handed weapon, capable of besting even the trickiest of bosses. Comprised of a slender hilt, broad blade, and intricately engraved handguard, this triumph of blacksmithing is as beautiful as it is imposing. A weapon of its size could easily be accused of being ostentatious, that's my name, don't wear it out, but the sheer craftsmanship it exhibits takes it from functional item to work of art. Sadly, despite being an incredibly cool example of a very large sword, we're unable to give it a higher spot in this list because we still feel bad about the doggo we had to kill in order to get it. Oh, made myself sad again. Number 5. Dawnbreaker, The Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim. Forging swords is already a pretty cool occupation. I mean, just look at the likes of Game of Thrones' Gendry. The boy's just a regular old blacksmith's apprentice, and yet he still gets all of the ladies. So just imagine how much action you could get if you could forge swords out of holy light. That's exactly what Daedric Prince Meridia did when she created Dawnbreaker, a one-handed sword imbued with the power to literally explode your enemies. We can only imagine how many potential suitors come knocking at her door, the lucky lass. Created with the intent of burning away corruption and false life, the sword is particularly effective against undead and Daedric foes, so no longer will you need to worry about the pesky clan fear ruining your day. And if wielding a weapon created by an actual god isn't awesome enough for you already, Dawnbreaker ain't too hard on the old eyes either, featuring an intricate gold pommel, leather-bound hilt and golden blade, as well as a bright light-emitting crystal in its handguard. Players need only complete the Break of Dawn quest, and Meridia will gift Dawnbreaker to the player as a reward for slaying the evil Malkaran, which is nice. Last time I got rid of an evil wizard, all I got was a Snickers bar and the afternoon off. Yeah, thanks Adam. Number 4. Soul Edge and Soul Calibur, Soul Calibur. What's this, I hear you ask? 2 swords in a single entry? Oh, smells like a wildcard entry to me! But to be honest, when it comes to the swords of Soul Calibur, it's pretty much impossible to pick which of Algol's legendary blades is the coolest, Soul Edge or Soul Calibur itself. Several different variants of the 2 blades have featured throughout the series, but by and large, the 2 are opposites in design, with Calibur's outward appearance being light and ethereal, and Edge's being more evil and demonic. In the red corner we have Soul Edge, a sword that was originally forged as an ordinary weapon, but after being, quote, bathed in blood and hatred, turned demonic, its power causing the wielder to go slowly insane. In the blue corner, we have Soul Calibur, main protagonist throughout most of the series, created to oppose the evil power of its unholy cousin. We tried to pick a favourite, but the office is completely divided, so after several verbal arguments and one very heated punch-up, thanks again Adam, we've decided that both of these swords deserve to share the 4th place spot for being so gosh darned cool. Well done my dudes, and pardon my language. Number 3. FROSTMOURNE, World of Warcraft. We had a veritable smorgasbord of swords to choose from in World of Warcraft. The one that particularly leapt out at us, however, was FROSTMOURNE, a sword with so much lore that it has a WoW wiki entry longer than this entire script. A cursed blade with the ability to drain the life and soul of those with whom it comes into contact, this icy sword is wielded by the Lich King, master and lord of the Scourge, and general all-round bad dude. As evil as the sword and its master are, however, we can't help but admire FROSTMOURNE's fantastical craftsmanship. From its glacial, rune-inscribed blade to its imposing handguard emblazoned with the skull of a goat, every inch of this nightmare-inducing weapon is gloriously designed and endlessly cool. I'm really sorry. Fortunately for the good people of Azeroth, but not so fortunately for us fans of sharp, pointy things, FROSTMOURNE was destroyed shortly before the downfall of the Lich King himself, with its trapped souls freed from the sword but still stuck within the ice-crowned citadel to be tormented for all eternity. Oh, better luck next time, guys, eh? Number 2. SQUALL'S GUNBLADE, Final Fantasy VIII. Is it a gun? Is it a blade? No! Well, yes, it's both. It's a gunblade, I don't know. Be honest, you thought we were going to feature Cloud's Buster Sword here, didn't you? Well, firstly, we hate to be predictable, and secondly, although the Buster Sword is kind of cool, really the only thing it has going for it is its size, which we can't help but feel is just Cloud compensating for something. SQUALL'S Gunblade, on the other hand, while also being very big, combines the best elements of a sword and a firearm. Appearing at a quick glance to be nothing more than a very, very, very large revolver, upon closer inspection, the weapon is revealed to be a rather imposing-looking blade with a gun serving as the hilt. SQUALL'S Gunblade does not fire projectiles like, say, a rifle with bayonet, but rather pulling the trigger causes the blade to vibrate, dealing additional damage to the wielder's opponent. You know, for when cutting a 3 or 4 inch gash into your enemy simply isn't enough. Other iterations of the Gunblade do in fact fire bullets, but in our opinion, SQUALL'S is the original and still the best, and if nothing else, at least you can't accuse him of bringing a knife to a gunfight. Or maybe you can. Honestly, we're still not sure what exactly this thing is. And number 1, Corrupted ASHBRINGER, Diablo 3. If you like swords, or more specifically, swords falling out of your enemies' backsides, then we highly recommend you have a go at Diablo 3, or either of its predecessors for that matter. With that in mind, there were numerous contenders for the number 1 spot, to the point that we could have made a list of the 10 coolest swords in Diablo 3. Undeniably, however, the Corrupted ASHBRINGER had to take the top spot on our list. I mean, come on! It's got a floating skull in the blade. Being one of the rarest weapons in the game, you'll be incredibly lucky if you can get your hands on one. But if you do, then not only are you going to be the coolest cat in all of Sanctuary, you'll also be one of the most powerful cats. Each time you slaughter an opponent with the Corrupted ASHBRINGER, there's a chance that it will raise a little skeleton dude to fight in your name. Accumulate 5 of these spooky boys, and they will explode for 1000% holy damage, and transform the sword into its non-corrupted counterpart for a short time. Oh, 2 weapons for the price of 1. As a Yorkshireman, that is a bargain I cannot bring myself to ignore. Just try and change my mind in the comments that anything else should have taken the number 1 spot. Go on, do it now. Video's over. See you later.